Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I've been putting up videos now for about 6 years, and some of the older videos have gotten quite a few views, but they don't all do so well. But the funny thing is that as a video creator on YouTube, I actually have a panel that I can go to and see all comments on my videos, regardless of which videos or how old they are. So occasionally I'm going to be reading through the comments. Most of them are for recent videos. But every now and then I'll get a comment on an old video. And the funny part is that some of the oldest videos I've put up get the same comments over and over and over again. So what I'm going to talk about today in this video is the top 10 comments that I get repeatedly, despite the fact that the comments are completely off base. So, for example, I did a video about Sam and his pizza car. And there's a guy named Sam who has a really, really cool video channel, and he had me on there a while back on YouTube. And we were talking about the fact that he'd bought a Domino's pizza car at an auction because the vehicle had been wrecked. And an insurance company had gotten it from the franchise that had the vehicle, and then it got wrecked. And it went through an auction, and Sam bought it, and he restored it. And while he was restoring it, he got contacted by Big Pizza. And they said, we don't want you driving that car around with our logos on it. And I actually appeared on his channel to discuss it. And then I did my own video about it. And I pointed out that, and this is how you got to understand this, that Domino's is a company that has franchises, and they let the franchise use a car with the Domino's logo on it. When the car got wrecked, the insurance company got it, sent it to an auction, and then Sam bought it from the auction. A lot of people said, Steve, when Domino's sold the car to Sam, they should have taken the logos off of it. Domino's didn't sell the car to Sam. Domino's sold it to a franchise. The franchise company sold it to the insurance company, in essence, who then sold it to Sam. The franchise company owned the car. They did not own the logos. So I explained that in the video, but people, to this day, I get about once a week, someone goes, if Domino's didn't want the logos in that car, they shouldn't have left the logos on when they sold it to Sam. Domino's didn't sell the car to Sam. The franchise company sold it to the insurance company who sold it to Sam. And the franchise company owned the car, but not the logos. So there you go. I have had also quite a few people say, Steve, apparently you don't understand this. That's the same reason the police take the police logos off the side of cars before they sell them at auction. Like, really? You think the police have a trademark on the word police? So that's number one. Number two, most common one I get is in response to a video I called You're the Sheep if you won't show your receipt at Walmart. And in the video, I specifically said, the point of this is you go to Walmart or someplace, you shop there, and on the way out, they ask to see your receipt, and you get upset by that, but you walked in the door knowing they do that. Why do you shop there? And in the video, I explicitly stated, I don't shop there. I don't like that policy, among other things, so I simply don't shop there. I get about once a week someone who says, Steve, you're the sheep because you still shop there. I said specifically, I don't shop there. If I don't shop there, how can I be a sheep? I'm not a sheep. So, you walk in the door, you're upset by what they're going to do to you on the way out, but you still walk in the door. That makes you the sheep. That's the whole point. I did the video about how it's illegal to drive with cash in your car, in essence. Because if the police pull you over in America and you got cash in your car and too much cash, they'll just take it from you and say that you must have had this cash for some bad reason. Therefore, we're going to take it from you and you have to sue us to get it back. I've had a lot of people say, Steve, it's a real easy way to get around that. And that is just when you withdraw from the bank, just keep the receipt showing you withdrew it from the bank. Except, of course, that they're going to say, we don't care that you had it in the bank. Before it was in the bank, it was proceeds of a crime. You can't launder the money through the bank and make it clean. So the fact that you have receipts to prove where you got it from wouldn't help you. Likewise, that same video, I get a ton of comments from people who say, Steve, if you actually carry cash in your car and you don't want to have to surrender it to the police, take a safe, bolt it to your trunk, inside of your trunk, and then lock the money inside the safe. Except you do understand that when they pull you over and there's a locked safe in the trunk of your car and they eventually get into it, they're going to say the reason you lock your money in the trunk of your car inside a safe that's welded to the trunk is because you're a criminal. They'll use it against you. Just thought you should know. I did a video about eavesdropping and about how many states have got eavesdropping statutes that say specifically you are not allowed to electronically listen in on or record the conversations of others. Some states say unless you are part of the conversation. Some simply say you cannot do it without the person's knowledge. Different statutes in different states word that differently, but the point is that you cannot use electronic devices to spy on other people. And I have a lot of people who seem to think that the phrase expectation of privacy trumps everything. And so I've pointed out these laws exist. I've talked about what states they apply in. And people go, unless, of course, they have no expectation of privacy. So if they're out in public and they're talking, I can record them, I can eavesdrop. No, you can't. There's the statutes that say that you cannot electronically record somebody or surreptitiously record them doesn't say unless they have no expectation of privacy. So the best example of this is I'm sitting in a park. I'm in the middle of Central Park, the big one in New York City, Central Park. I'm in the middle of Central Park. I'm sitting on a bench. And I'm having a quiet conversation with somebody. And somebody, just like in the movies, is 100 yards away listening with a weird audio scope that they can listen in on. You might say, Steve, you have no expectation of privacy in Central Park, right? Yes, I do. I'm talking to somebody. We're talking quietly. There's nobody else around that can hear us unless they're using an electronic eavesdropping device. So I'm not sure what the law is in New York. My point simply is this. In states where there are laws against eavesdropping, I've never seen one that says, oh, except for if you have no expectation of privacy. And for some odd reason, people love to do that where they whip out a phrase that sounds good. You had no expectation of privacy? It was not in the statute. I don't care how good the phrase sounds. It has no legal effect. I did the video about the Montana license plate scam, and I pointed out how there are businesses in Montana that specialize in helping people plate and register their cars in Montana, despite the fact that these people live in other states. And the scam is that the people running the businesses in Montana will tell people, this is perfectly legal. And of course, it's perfectly legal in Montana. It might not be legal where you're going, but they don't care. They just take your money to do what they do in Montana. And the real upshot here is that somebody who lives, like, say, in Michigan, right, has a car they want to pay sales tax on, so they buy the car in Montana, where there's no sales tax apparently, and they get the car registered in Montana, and then, of course, they bring it back to Michigan and drive it around with a Montana license plate on it. And now there's all kinds of issues there, but not the least of which is that one of the ways they get around this is they have the person who's buying the car form a Montana LLC, and then they buy the car in the name of the Montana LLC, and then they do there's a bunch of paperwork involved in this. This is one of the most common comments I get across all my videos. People go, Steve, you seem to think that there's something wrong with this. All that person's got to do is notify their insurance company that they're going to be doing this, insure the vehicle in the name of the LLC, and then take the vehicle back and drive it in their state. You're assuming that the insurance company is okay with the little flim-flam that you're pulling there, but also you're assuming that the insurance on an LLC insured car is the same as the insurance on an individually driven car. And the point is that I describe a situation that many states have deemed illegal. And people love to take my hypotheticals and go, yeah, but if you did it legally, you would be breaking the law. Well, I guess not. So when I'm talking about speeding, you could say, Steve, if you weren't speeding, that wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, I guess you're right. So the point is that these companies in Montana that help you do this never say, by the way, let's form an LLC. The LLC will buy the car. The LLC will insure the car in the name of the LLC and tell the insurance company, by the way, we're planning on driving the car entirely in a state other than Montana. They never say that. I wonder why. So that's the thing there. I've had people say a whole bunch of things, but it's largely two things. When it comes to, can stores refuse cash? Can stores refuse cash? So I walk into a store and I go, how much is this Rapala here? How much? $10. So I go, okay, and I pull out a $10 bill. And they go, oh, sorry, we don't take cash. Can they do that? And I've had people raise two arguments. And one is they say, well, if you look at the $10 bill, it says, this is legal tender. Now I say, what do you think that means, legal tender? Does that mean that people are required to take it? But number two, I've had people say, but Steve, if they refuse to take your cash, then the item is yours. Boom, take it. It's yours. You offered them legal tender. They refused to take it. Therefore, it is now yours. And I know that people like the logic that results in them getting free stuff. Can you show me where the law says that? If someone refuses to take your cash, you can then just grab the merchandise. Never seen that before. But the thing is that legal tender, if you want to know what it really means, look it up. It basically means that in America, legal tender is dollars, US dollars, so that if the US government says you owe them money, they can say you owe us $10. They can't say you owe us 5 chickens. Okay? Now, there are probably places out there that would accept payment in chickens. Chickens are probably a very, very good currency in some places. But in America, debts are paid in dollars and cents. And that's what legal tender means. One of the most interesting thematic things that happens in response to my videos is people will claim to have expertise in an area. And you can tell by their answer that they don't. And so I get a lot of people who tell me that they are lawyers and they say something really, really idiotic. But one of my favorite ones is I had a guy who responded to my Fun with Banks, I think it was video. And he said, just to let you know, I'm a former bank manager. And he then said something really stupid. And the funny thing is that in the story that I had told, I talked about how I went into a bank and I had trouble with them because they wouldn't cash a check that I tried to deposit because the date was stale. And the manager I was talking to said it's against the law for us to cash this check. And I sat down in her office with her and I said, okay, if you can show me the law, I'll get up and walk out. I said, if you can't show me the law, I'm going to empty out my bank account right now. And instead of asking me what the law was, she asked me my bank account number. And she looked it up. And I mentioned in the video that at that moment in time, I just happened to have $30,000 or $35,000 in cash sitting in a checking account. And it was, I don't normally keep that much money in a non-interest bearing account for obvious reasons. But it just happened to be there because of some circumstances in my life. And when she saw that number, she said, oh, I'll cash it for you, but just this once. And this guy goes, I'm a former bank manager. And he goes, number one, he goes, if that was me, he goes, I would have laughed at you. $30,000. You think that's a lot of money, Mr. Lawyer? $30,000? You were a bank manager. And it wouldn't occur to you that the $30,000 is sitting in a non-interest bearing checking account where you're making money off it, but I'm not? That wouldn't occur to you, Mr. Bank Manager? Really? And you, Mr. Bank Manager, would think nothing of insulting a customer who wants to withdraw $30,000 cash, in essence, over a bet that you just lost, and it wouldn't bother you as the bank manager? Really, $30,000 is such a small amount of money to you at that big old bank you managed that you're fine with that? Guy wasn't a bank manager, obviously. So that's one of the weird professions I've had somebody claim to me that, reminds me years ago, and this is not YouTube related, but I was in a chat room once, and a guy said to me he was an airline pilot. I go, what do you fly? And he told me the name of what kind of plane he flew. I said, what's the rotation speed on that? And he goes, the what now? The pilots in the audience know what I'm talking about. And that's the point. I did a video a long time ago called, Do You Really Want to Buy a Blue Car? Do you really want to buy a blue car? And the point of the video is that among the things that are factored into the value of a used car, if you go to sell it, is the color. Some colors sell better than others. That's the only reason that video exists, was simply to point that out. I have had so many angry people say, Steve, I've got a blue car. I like blue cars. Depends on the car. Here's a blue car. This car in any other color wouldn't be as cool. This is a blue car. I love blue cars. Depends on the car. My point simply was, among the things you need to consider when purchasing any car is all of the things that factor into its used car value if you care. If you don't care, who cares? My point was simply, it's something you should think about. But I got a lot of people who are angry about that, saying, it depends on the car. Some cars are better in blue. Yeah, some cars are better in red too. But I should explain one thing about that video. I mentioned in the video there's a link below and there's no link. The people who ran the article that I used for the basis of my talk realized that my video is doing so well that they started playing games with it. So the link that I put into that article, they actually changed the link to a different article trying to get me to drive. So I had to remove the link for that reason. And then, of course, there's a problem with the U.S. Supreme Court. And it's interesting because I've been doing videos now for 5 or 6 years. And in the last year or so, there's been this weird belief among some people that the U.S. Supreme Court shouldn't be doing what they do. I'm not talking about revisionist Supreme Court rulings, okay? What I'm talking about is I've had people tell me that, Steve, the Supreme Court is not even supposed to rule on cases. I get that all the time. And I talk about the Supreme Court quite a bit. And I've had people actually say to me, Steve, the U.S. Supreme Court, that's not even their job. They shouldn't be doing that at all. And I go, what should they be doing? And I often get blank responses to that. But I've had people say, but Steve, where does the Supreme Court get the right to overturn a law? Where do they get the right to rule on something? The Constitution? There are 3 articles, the Constitution, that we often talk about. Article 1, Congress. Article 2, the President. Article 3, the Supreme Court. And it turns out that Article 3, Section 2 says the judicial power of the Supreme Court shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority. So the Supreme Court has power that extends to all cases arising under the Constitution, the laws, and treaties of the United States. So anytime there's a question, problem arises with the Constitution or laws or treaties, the U.S. Supreme Court rules. So the idea that who gave them that authority? The Constitution. And the funny thing is that most of the people who tell me the Supreme Court's got no such power say they don't have the right to overrule the Constitution. Well, the Constitution says they do. So I understand that seems to be kind of like the snake eating its own tail argument, but the point is, if you read the Constitution, you can't just pick and choose bits and pieces of it. You actually got to go, well, there's one article here, another article here, another. Let's read all 3 of these articles just to understand the 3 branches of government, perhaps. So among other things, the Supreme Court, I've been told that the Supreme Court has ruled that you can videotape anywhere you want. So if you want to videotape the police, go right ahead. The Supreme Court said so. No, they haven't. I've also been told, obviously, the Supreme Court has ruled that you don't need a driver's license again. And then, of course, like I said, I've been told repeatedly the Supreme Court is not even supposed to be doing that. Who gave them the right to do that? And then finally, I have to mention this, and I don't know if this will become a common one, but it might. So I've had a couple people point this out. I did the video the other day where I was joking about the meme, which shows a baseball bat and a glove in the backseat of a car. And the meme says, if you carry a baseball bat in your car, keep a glove back there. Your lawyer will thank you. And I pointed out that your lawyer won't care. Because if you use the baseball bat, like say, to beat somebody up, the fact that there's a glove in the back of your car ain't going to help you any. Oh, that's okay. You're allowed to beat the guy because you had the glove in the back of your car. No. And I've had people say, but Steve, if you got the glove in the back of your car, it shows that you weren't carrying it as a weapon. Who cares? I don't care what you were carrying it as before you used it as a weapon. You used it as a weapon. And so the idea that one item in your car is going to negate the illegality of another. Well, what if you took the glove out and beat somebody with the glove? No. I had someone comment and they go, Steve, I don't get how you don't see this. The glove and the baseball bat go together. And the meme is saying that because you've got the glove, you play baseball. That's why you got the bat. And I wrote back and I said, I understand that. I played baseball. I know how baseball works. By the way, you never use the glove and the bat at the exact same time. I mentioned that before also, unless you're a coach and you're doing practice. But I understand what someone's getting at. My point was that the meme says your lawyer will thank you, suggesting there's a legal connection, that somehow it will legally help you that there's a glove there. The presence of that glove will make no legal difference at all. There's not any situation in the world, and I sat around and thought about this. I could not think of a single possible argument as to how that glove's going to help you. So your lawyer's in front of the jury. You're on trial for beating somebody up with a baseball bat. And your lawyer gets in front of the jury and goes, there's a baseball glove in the back of his car. Find him not guilty. What? It explains the presence of the bat, but who cares why the bat was there? By the way, the tire iron in the back of the car with the spare, you got a perfectly good reason to have that in the car too. Because you got a spare and you got a jack. Guess what? Take that tire iron out and use it as a weapon. And say, oh, I had a spare tire. I had a spare tire. Take the jack out. Somebody do that. Up, spare tire. I had a spare tire. So the presence of the glove makes no difference. And so what's really interesting to me is I had somebody argue with me for 5 or 10 comments in a discussion beneath there. And they actually said, but Steve, you don't understand. The baseball glove and the baseball bat go together. I said, I don't see what you think I don't understand about that. Of course I know they go together. My point is I'm an attorney, and I point out the legal aspects. And somebody said, your lawyer will thank you. There's no reason that your lawyer's going to go, whew, good thing you got the glove back there. Good thing. No. Your lawyer won't thank you. That was the purpose of my video. So believe it or not, I counted. And that was 10 things right there. 10 things, which often crop up beneath my videos. Some very specific, some not so much. I know it sounds like I'm griping, but hey, I'm getting old. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. My mind is going a mile an hour.